I'd like to reconvene the October 11th, 2011 meeting of the Newport Beach City Council. May we have roll call, please?
Is Councilmember Rosansky still here?
He's here.
In the back?
He is
Okay.
momentarily detained.
Okay, with that, all members of council are present.
Thank you. Do we have a closed session report?
There's no closed session report this evening.
All right. Would everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilmember Selich, if you're of a mind to, Ed? Okay. Well, I know your voice isn't so good. Followed by the invocation by Father Carrie Beaulieu, Our Lady, Queen of Angels Church.
Please follow me in and salute to our flag. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us pray for our mayor and city council members, our city staff, including all our city employees, our citizens, our visitors, and those who look to us for help. Source of all light and goodness, giver of life to every human being, we ask your guidance and enlightenment for the leaders of our community gathered here tonight. Fill them with your wisdom and prudence in their stewardship of our city. Make their first motivation the common good of all as we seek to live in dignity and justice, shared safety and security, mutual respect and mutual support. Help them to reach the important decisions that affect our lives and make their meetings shorter so they can spend more time with their families and friends. We make this prayer in the unity we share as human beings to the one who is God forever and ever. Amen.
Thank you, Father. And now we have a proclamation and presentation regarding the Irvine Ranch Natural Landmarks Month. And I have a proclamation here. And is Mike O'Connell here? Okay. Why don't you come on up, Mike, and then if there's something you'd like to say after I read the proclamation. Whereas nearly 40,000 acres of open space on the historic Irvine Ranch have been designated a natural landmark by both the state of California and the U.S. Department of Interior, and whereas this honor recognizes the exceptional value of these lands to California and the entire nation, and whereas 5 years ago, this area received national recognition when the protected land on the Irvine Ranch was singled out for its rare biological and geological features through designation as a national natural landmark, and whereas on Earth Day 2008, nearly 40,000 acres was designated the first California national landmark under a new state program that officially recognizes and encourages the stewardship of extraordinary examples of natural resources. And whereas the Irvine Ranch natural landmarks contain important natural habitats and unusual geological formations and is home to hundreds of species of plants and animals, including eagles, badgers, mountain lions, tecate cypress trees, and many rare species of birds, reptiles, amphibians, and plants. And whereas the landscape represents one of the few places in Southern California where habitats have been preserved stretching from the mountains to the sea. And whereas last June, Orange County residents received 20,000 acres of this landscape to protect and enjoy for generations to come. This open space, a donation from the Irvine Company Chairman Donald Bren, was unanimously accepted by us, the Orange County Board of Supervisors. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Michael Henn, Mayor of the City of Newport Beach, do hereby proclaim October as Irvine Ranch Natural Landmarks Month, in witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Newport Beach to be affixed this 11th day of October, 2011. Would you care to make some comments, Michael?
Yes, thank you, Mayor, members of the City Council. It's my thrill to accept this proclamation on behalf of the entire partnership of governments and nonprofit organizations and private individuals that are working to take care of this spectacular lands. Newport Beach has some wonderful assets, wonderful coastline, Upper Newport Bay, Buck Gully that my organization partners with you to help manage. But this proclamation recognizes that those lands and waters are part of a much larger system of 40,000 acres that has national significance. And those lands are available to the people of Newport Beach and of Orange County to enjoy forever and ever. And we are in the middle of Landmarks Month and have created a lot of special programs. The best way to find out about those and to get out on the land and enjoy this special place is to go to www.irlandmarks.org, and there are activities every day for people to come out and enjoy. So thank you again. We appreciate your partnership, and thanks for the proclamation.
Thank you, Michael, and thanks to the Irvine Company and Mr. Bren. Shall we take a picture?
Absolutely.
While the mayor is doing that, I would just say I was privileged to be present at the dedication of the natural landmark a few years ago with Mr. Bren, and also as a member of the County Parks Commission to be involved in the facilitation of the donation of 20,000 acres last year. And we are truly blessed in Orange County to have the kind of open space that we have. We're one of the most urban counties in America, but we also have some of the most spectacular wildlife and open space. And it's certainly the result of some great stewardship of the land by our major property owners. So congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for filling that dead air, Councilmember Curry. May we have the notice to the public, please?
The City Council provides a yellow sign-in card to assist in the preparation of the minutes. The completion of the card is not required in order to address the council. Speakers must limit comments to 5 minutes on agenda items. The council has a discretion to extend or shorten the time limit on agenda or non-agenda items. As a courtesy, please turn cell phones off or set them in the silent mode. Now is the time for council announcements or matters which council members would like placed on a future agenda for discussion, action, or report.
Councilmember Hill.
None, thank you.
And Councilmember Rosansky.
Nothing, thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Gardner.
Councilman Curry and I attended the Newport Beach Restaurant Association annual luncheon, and it was very interesting, the presentations made, to see how the association is working with companies like American Express to give their members new tools to follow up, get better surveys of what their customers need and want, and follow up as far as Restaurant Week, which will be in January. So very interesting, and it's nice to see that they're getting more of the technology that will help them succeed.
Very good. Councilmember Bagel.
Yes, a couple things. First is that I was noticing that there's several items on our consent calendar this evening connected to the dredging of the harbor. It is happening, and it represents a lot of collaboration, a lot of parties, agencies, elected officials, our city coming together. So we really had to roll up our sleeves on some of those challenges. And I know our Harbor Resources Manager, Chris Miller, has been at the forefront of that. So thanks for plugging away. There's more challenges ahead, but we've really managed to make tremendous progress. And then secondly, I was dismayed to learn that a member of the Planning Commission had called up a project. We have a really fantastic restaurant on Coast Highway called Pizzeria Mazza, and we have a kind of a regional or maybe even nationally famous chef. And the purpose for the call-up was to potentially overturn a decision by our zoning administrator to give a permit to serve alcohol. And during our general plan proceedings, it was decided, a policy decision by the council, that we want our staff to administer that versus bog down these kinds of permits and long delays. So the issue that I have with it is here's a business that creates jobs, and we want them to flourish, we want them to thrive and not create bureaucratic delays. So I had a question for the staff. When will that Planning Commission hearing take place?
Thank you. It's scheduled for October 20th.
And then at that time, depending on the decision, it either dies there or a council member could call it up.
It would either be approved or the zoning administrator decision would either be upheld or reversed. And then, of course, the planning commission's decision is also subject to call-up or appeal.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Curry?
On Sunday, I was privileged to be joined by Mayor Hinn and Councilman Selich and Councilmember Daigle for the dedication of the Reagan Memorial in Bonita Canyon Park. Along with us were Congressman Dana Rohrabacher and Ed Royce, Assemblyman Alan Mansour, and Don Wagner, and about 200 members of the community. It was a delightful event, and I encourage everyone to go out and visit the statue. And I want to thank once again the many donors who helped make the statue possible here in Newport Beach. Then secondly, on a personal note, many of you may know, or some of you may know, that I retired from the public finance business back in April. And for those that had a bet on how long I would stay retired, the actual over-under was 164 days. And I will become shortly here the director of the Center for Public Policy at Concordia University. And I will look forward in that position to fostering some dialogue amongst business and labor and all of the parties in Orange County to make better policy and talk about the problems which face both the cities and the county and certainly the residents of our county. And while I continue to do that while serving on the council. Thank you.
Very good. Councilmember Selich?
Nothing this evening.
All right, I have several announcements. Before I proceed to that, though, I would like to express my thanks to Councilmember Curry for his leadership and tenacity in helping that statue become a reality here in our city. It is indeed a beautiful statue, and I'm sure will be enjoyed by many. Mayor Pro Tem Gardner and I had the opportunity to have our photo taken here in the council chambers on October the 7th with the visiting exchange students from Okazaki, Japan, a group of about a half a dozen or so students, some of whom actually do speak English as well, and all of whom speak English a lot better than I speak Japanese. And so that was a very nice event, and it's just great that we have a program like this to improve cross-cultural understandings here with our sister cities. Along with Councilmember Curry and Councilmember Daigle, I attended the Anatolian celebration on October the 8th at the Orange County Fairgrounds. Anatolian referring to what's generally perceived as modern-day Turkey, but it's an event that was really a very impressive event established by the Pacifica Foundation to improve understandings, cross-cultural understandings with Turkey and the Middle East. And so that was really an interesting and worthwhile event. The Neighborhood Revitalization Committee met at 4 p.m. on October the 13th in the council chambers here. I'm sorry? Yeah, well, I got it wrong. In any event, we did meet here in council chambers, and we had a good discussion of design guidelines for the Lido Village project, and that process is moving along quite nicely. And let's see, the Tidelands Management Committee also met, is meeting on October the 19th at the Oasis Center, and we're formulating the agenda for that now, but that indeed is a good committee that we're making very good progress on a number of issues with. I will be doing a Meet the Mayor presentation at 9 a.m. at the Mariners Library Teen Center on October the 22nd. That's at 9 a.m. I hope a lot of people attend. Our attendance hasn't been all that strong lately, so hopefully we'll do better with that one. A very special announcement. Exploration, which is the new name for the Nautical Museum in Balboa Village, is moving forward with a very striking and dramatic redevelopment of their property in the village. and they intend to unveil their new plans and a new preview center at the Nautical Museum property in Balboa Village on October the 22nd. That's in the evening, I believe around 7 p.m. They wanted me to be sure to let the public and anyone interested know that all are invited to attend and share their vision for the future. In addition to that, the Newport Beach Chamber of Commerce will be sponsoring an economic forecast forum. It's an economic forecast for 2012. Let's see, that will be at the Island Hotel on Wednesday, October the 26th, and registration is at 7:15 a.m. and the seminar from 7:30 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. There is a cost of $35 for chamber members and $45 for non-chamber members. Lastly, Mr. City Attorney, I understand we've taken another step forward with regard to abatement actions, and if you would take a minute and update us.
Yes, we filed today abatement actions against Yellowstone and Pacific Shores for violations of the municipal code. So we'll be looking to abate that nuisance in both those actions. Last week, we filed a cross-complaint against Morningside, also seeking to abate the violations of the municipal code of various properties throughout the city.
Okay, very good. All right, with that, may we move on to the consent calendar, please?
All matters listed under consent calendar, items 1 through 16, and supplemental item S21 are considered to be routine and will all be enacted by one motion in the form listed below. The council members have received detailed staff reports on each of the items recommending an action. There will be no separate discussion of these items prior to the time the City Council votes on the motion unless members of the City Council staff or the public request specific items to be discussed and or removed from the consent calendar for separate action. Members of the public who wish to discuss a consent calendar item should come forward to the lectern upon invitation by the mayor and state their name and item number. If the optional sign-in card has been completed, it should be placed in the box provided at the podium.
All right, very good. Councilmember Daigle?
None.
And Councilmember Curry?
No items?
Councilmember Selich?
No items?
Councilmember Hill?
No items.
And Councilmember Vozansky?
None, thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Gardner?
Number 14.
Number 14? Okay. And I have no items to pull. Do any members of the public wish to pull an item on consent calendar?
Dan Purcell, Corona Del Mar, item 7.
My name is Jim Moser. I'd like some clarification of item 13.
All right. Any other members of the public wish to pull an item? Seeing none, I'll accept the motion.
I move items 1 through 16 with the exceptions of 7, 13, and 14.
Second. And S21, correct?
Sorry, and S21.
Amended second.
All right. Please vote.
And hold on, please. With the recognition that item 3 is amended, as we talked about in study session, these are Councilmember Hill's catch, and I think you have this in front of you that would include that.
And with the amended number 3.
And also the minutes were provided for the amendments.
And the
on them
amended
also.
minutes. All right, should I start over again?
I think we got it all
All right,
eventually.
good.
So, all right, please vote.
Prior to reading the vote, I have to read one resolution for item 3, resolution number 2011-95, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Newport Beach prohibiting parking on Central Avenue Sundays between 7 a.m. and 4 p.m. and establishing a tow-away zone. With that, the motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. All right, the first item pulled was item number 7. Mr. Purcell?
Yes, this is the Dan Purcell, Corona Del Mar. This is the item to revisit the Newport Beach oil operations, and I applaud you for revisiting that, as you're doing a lot of good things in this city to get our financial house in order. I reviewed the scope of services, a 3-page document for the provided by the consultant, And I only saw the word risk in there mentioned one time, dangling at the end of the sentence. And I just want to encourage the council to make sure there is an emphasis on some of the risks as you look at these things, either economic or environmental. I know that there is some discussion about presenting some of the findings to the Finance Committee and some other individual groups. I think the Finance Committee is the only public meeting at which the findings would be presented. And I guess I would encourage the council to also consider a presentation by the consultants to the Coastal Bay Water Quality Citizens Advisory Committee. Of all the meetings I attend, city meetings I attend, that seems to be the committee that has the highest number of people who are qualified to really hear these types of risks, environmental risks. Obviously, the Finance Committee can certainly deal with the financial and the economic risks. And I bring that up because we might head down a path and realize we start to lean toward one solution or another without running it past certain knowledgeable people in the community who are a valuable resource to us before we get to the point where we hear goofy things someday like blowout preventer, containment cap, dispersants, junk shot, relief well, riser pipe, tar balls, top kill. And the last thing we want on our city website is a live spill cam. Thanks.
Okay. So noted. I think actually there are, Coastal Bay may have an interest in this. The Tidelands Committee may also have an interest. So we'll have more than one opportunity, I'm sure, to increase our understanding of this issue. Do we have any council comment on this item? Is there any other public comment on this item? Excuse me, Mayor.
No, I was going to move the item.
Second. Any other public comment? Seeing none, please vote.
Motion carries unanimously.
All right. Item number 13, Mr. Mosher.
Yes. Mayor Henn and members of the council, my name is Jim Mosher. This item is the approval of a contract for outsourcing the reading of the city's residential water meters to a company called Alexander Contracting. As you know, outsourcing has been controversial in many other communities, so I trust and hope that this is an example of successful outsourcing, but I had a little trouble understanding the math in the staff report. According to the report, Alexander is currently reading half of the residential meters in our city and is offering to read the other half for $74,000 more, eliminating the need for one city employee called a utilities specialist. And by doing so, the report says we will be saving ourselves $70,000. But I looked up in the current budget what we pay a utility specialist, and including all the benefits, it is $71,000. So naively, it sounds like we may be paying somebody in an Alexander uniform $74,000 to do what a city employee formerly did for $71,000. So I'm hoping we can get some clarification on how that is saving us $70,000. Thank you.
Okay. Do we have anybody from staff that is in a position to respond to that question?
Thank you, Mayor Henn. Yeah, we actually have two people that are reading the other half of the meters. Currently, we're going to use one of those positions to do meter replacement work for at least a year, and then we'll take a look at next budget cycle if we can reduce another position in utility. So we are reducing one now. That is, as Mr. Mosher said, the $70,000, and then at the end of the year we'll look at possibly another position.
And that would get us to the total net savings that was mentioned in the report.
Correct. And then we have vehicle equipment that we won't need, and we've got some other things that are tied to the meter reading as well. We have 2 trucks. So we'll start with a minimal savings at first, and we'll reach that $70,000 as we get into the program.
Okay. Do we have any questions of council? All right. Are there any other comments from the public on this agenda item? Seeing none, I think we need a motion.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Please vote.
Oops.
Motion carries unanimously.
All right. Item number 14, Mayor Pro Tem Gardner.
Well, I asked questions about this at the study session. I'm still not really clear on this. I understand, and before anybody jumps at me, I think it's great that we are going to contribute to help dredge the American Legion Marina. I might as well take advantage of all the things we're doing with our dredging. But I don't see why we are committing to a time frame to repair the wall at the same time, when it may be we need to do it next year, it may be we don't need to do it for 15 years. And so we're saying, well, we're going to dredge, but we're also going to repair that wall within 7 years. Why? Why can't we just leave that open, knowing that it's our responsibility at some point to do that, I guess, and when it comes, it comes?
Mayor Pro Tem Gardner, I think it does leave it open for us. This isn't a binding agreement between the Legion and the city. They have a letter, we have a letter. In our letter, we talk about the city will continue to study the feasibility of repairing or replacing the existing bulkheads within the marina on a city-developed timeline currently set to occur within the next 7 years as a part of our larger tidelands management effort. I hope no one is under the impression that we're pledging to do it. We're pledging to study it. So if the Legion has trouble with that, I don't think they do, but we will do the job when we need to do it and not before we need to do it.
I'm comfortable with us pledging to study it. That's I'll move the item.
All right. Any further council comment? Councilmember Daigle?
Yeah, I would say every 4th of July that I've been to the Legion, one of the issues brought up is the contamination. So I just think it's great that it's now going to get removed, and it's been an obstacle for a really long time, and I know you're happy too. So.
Did you want to second this?
Well, I'll second it, but just another quick question, because I noticed that the way the project is being done, we're staying 30 feet away from the walls, right? We're not dredging within 30 feet of the wall. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. So it is understood, though, that we are not paying for half of that at the time that dredging takes place, correct?
Correct.
They'll be responsible for that dredging, the 30 feet to the wall.
It's my understanding and assertion that our agreement doesn't have us do responsible for any dredging. So to answer your question,
But
yes,
there's no other
that's not our
commitment here that we're going
expectation.
to pay one half of the other 30 feet at the time.
No, there's no other commitment related.
I just
to
want to
that.
be clear on
This
that.
project, this opportunity to use the Port of Long Beach.
Excellent. I second the motion.
Okay, further council comment? Do we have any other members of the public who wish to comment on this? Seeing none, please vote.
The motion carries unanimously.
Okay, it is now time for public comment. Is there anyone that wishes to make a public comment on a non-agenda item?
My name's Andrew Gabel. Do I have to say it and then sit down and wait for the line to form, or just go? Okay, all right, just making sure. Just want to say this is one of the more entertaining council members I've been to. First of all, can I approach and hand out something to you guys? I have a copy for each of you.
Certainly, staff will take it from you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so like I said, my name is Andrew Gabel, and I reside in Orange, California. And I've come here today to make you aware of a new production company I've started. It's called Skipfing Productions. And essentially, what I do is I make digital content for cities like yourself all throughout Southern California to put on their television channel, website, Facebook, YouTube. The reason behind it is that in today's world, it's a world where people don't want to read, they want to watch, they want to see it. And if you go to a lot of city websites, you see a lot of text, but not as many videos. So my goal is to kind of change that on a city-by-city basis. And I see that there's a possibility to maybe do that here in Newport. So I can give you an example of what I would do. So you have a lot of events going on. I could go, like for example, the Reagan Statue Memorial. I could have gone to that, go in, document the entire event, including any press conference. You had a bunch of people there, document the entire event, interview mayor, council members, anyone instrumental in the event. Then go back, edit it with the music, graphics, everything, make it real nice, 5 to 6 minutes. And the reason to keep it short like that is because, as you all know, attention span is waning with Americans. And so they aren't going to sit there and watch a 30-minute program on one memorial. But they will watch 5-6 minutes, and it'll be engaging. So that's what I would do. Turn it around quite quickly, and then you can use that in a variety of ways, like I've said, on the television channel. YouTube, on your website to spruce that up a little bit. And I think that's important because then it engages the community with the city, and the city can reach the community and show what their tax dollars are really going to in a visual way, which is what people want to see. So I think it can be very instrumental for the city. So I'd like you, if you could, to go to the website and at least check out the samples that I have up there. I've worked extensively with the city of Anaheim over the last year doing these exact same type of videos, and they've really enjoyed it, and they've been successful. So if you could, I'd ask you to go there, check out the samples, contact me if you have questions or comments. Let me know what you think, and let me know if this would fit with the city. I do it pretty cheap, actually. Generally a third to half the price of what you're going to find out there, and I think I do a really good job. So I know you have a television channel, and I've seen some of the programs, and I think I can just enhance that and add to that. So I'd ask you to check it out if you would, and I'll be in contact. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. This commercial message brought to you by Skitfink Productions.
That's right. We do
Staff,
great work.
I'm sure, will be glad to follow up with you on this.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I commend your industriousness.
Thanks.
Okay. Do we have any other comments on non-agenda items?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, honorable council members. I'm Steve Ray, Executive Director of the Banning Ranch Conservancy. I just wanted to come forth tonight because the Sunset Ridge project, as you know, is before the California Coastal Commission. There is a very strong recommendation for denial by the Coastal Commission staff of the Sunset Ridge Park project. We just want to state for the record and just to clarify for everybody that the Banning Ranch Conservancy actually prefers to have a park on Sunset Ridge. We have not only supported that, we were actually among the original advocates for such a park. So we look forward to a park being on Sunset Ridge someday. We have, however, had taken issue with the access road that has been designed for that project on the basis that it does not conform with the law and does not protect the natural resources. So we support the park, but of course we hope that it would be done within those parameters of observing the law and protecting the natural resources. I would like to offer something to you tonight. First, that while the Conservancy has long preferred a passive park, being one where there are native plant gardens, picnic tables, a playground for kids, walking areas, benches, things like that with views to enjoy, that the council has proposed an active park with sports fields. And while we have been reluctant to accept that, because we still think a passive park is preferable, that we would support, and we have notified the Coastal Commission, the Coastal Commission staff, and the commissioners that we have addressed. We have notified your paid lobbyist, Mr. Don Schmitz. We have notified your staff that we will support sports fields, an active park use of that park. We do want to see the park built. We just want to talk to you about access for that park. We think we have a good solution to it. We would like to talk to you about that and work that out. And in light of that, I have a gift for you tonight. This is figuratively and literally an olive branch. Okay, I offer this to you tonight. I would like to present this to the city manager, Mr. Kiff, along with my card here. What we would like to do is to work with you to try to resolve this issue. We think there is a reasonable solution. I don't expect an answer tonight. You can discuss it amongst yourselves. We would like to have an answer by next Monday, the 17th at noon. If we do not hear by noon, then I presume that the council is not interested in any further discussion with us about finding a way to make this park on Sunset Ridge possible. And I will, if it's okay with Mr. Kiff, come down to his office and pick up our olive branch. But if you find this acceptable, please contact us. My card there has my number. I think you have it anyway. Ways means to contact me. We look forward to a positive result and being able to resolve this issue. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Can't have the olive branch back. I'm going to give it to my brother, and he's going to put it in his sukkah.
that from the ESHA?
All right. Do we have any other public comment? All right. Seeing none, we'll move on to oral reports from city council members on committee activities. Councilmember Hill.
None.
Councilmember Rosansky.
None, thank you.
And Councilmember Mayor Pro Tem Gardner.
Nothing.
Councilmember Daigle.
No reports.
And Councilmember Curry.
No reports.
And Councilmember Selich.
No reports this evening.
I have just one report. The Lido Village CAP did do an open house on October the 6th. And I filled in for Councilmember Hill in that proceeding. It was actually an open house and a business meeting of the Citizens Advisory Panel having to do with the Lido Village design guidelines that they are working on. The open house was extremely well attended. We had a lot of great input from the public and from property holders that are interested in this process, not just the major ones that we've been working with, but a number of the smaller property holders. And so we got a lot of very good input, and I'm looking forward to that design guidelines process coming to a conclusion sometime in the near future. Councilmember Hill's been doing an excellent job as liaison to that group, helping it to move along with the benefit of a lot of staff assistance, too. Okay. That's all we have for committee activities. On to public hearings.
Mr. Mayor and council members, this first one is on Fletcher Jones, and I apologize if I misled you or any in the public. This is not about a development agreement. Instead, I'm going to have Kim Grant lead off the presentation about this.
Thank you, Mr. Kiff. Mayor Hann, this first public hearing is for Fletcher Jones for an off-site new car storage facility that's been in existence since 2003. It's currently a temporary facility, so the application before you this evening is to allow that land use to continue on a permanent basis. An assistant planner, Makana Nova, will provide the staff presentation.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. My name is Makana Nova, Assistant Planner to the Planning Division. The application before you this evening is a request for a planned community development amendment, conditional use permit, and modification permit to allow the existing Fletcher Jones vehicle storage facility to remain at the subject property on 1301 Quayle Street. See, the subject property is located within the Newport Place Plan Community, just to the north of the 73 Highway and North Bristol Street. There are no physical changes proposed to the existing development on the subject property. The proposed amendment this evening would apply only to Hotel Site 2B within the Newport Place Plan Community, which is identified on the screen before you. The use was previously permitted as a temporary conditionally permitted use. A conditional use permit is proposed this evening to allow this as a permanent use on the property. You can see the subject property on the site plan before you. The site currently accommodates up to 519 vehicles on site. There are a couple of minor deviations to the landscape development requirements that are requested this evening through modification permit. The first is that one tree is required for every 5 parking spaces within parking areas in the Newport Place Plan Community. The development on site is for vehicle storage. There is a screen wall, trees, shrubs, and landscaping surrounding the property on all 3 sides adjacent to the right-of-way. That's North Bristol Street, Spruce Street, and Quayle Street. One tree is also required for every 25 lineal feet along interior property lines. Those trees are not provided on the subject property, but they are provided to the southeast on the adjacent subject property, which is developed with a commercial office building. like to mention this evening that that a revised packet was provided to you yesterday, updating the dates from September 27th to October 11th. The correct version of the packet has been available online throughout the packet process, and hard copies are available for the public this evening. So with that, that concludes my presentation. If there are any questions at this time.
Mayor Pro Tem Gardner?
I have no problem with it becoming a permanent parking lot. What I do have problems with, though, are the exceptions to the trees. Trees, we don't plant trees in today simply for the aesthetics. Green streets, low-impact development. We plant trees to prevent the warming that they take. If you have trees on a parking lot, you have less of a heat island. So I don't see why they shouldn't still be trees, even though it's a parking lot, and maybe the cars, don't care about it. But there's that reason beyond is that we want green streets, we want low-impact development type things, we want these things that comply with our green building guidelines, and to just have a plain old parking lot doesn't meet any of that. So I think that we should not cut the landscape requirements.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Hill?
If I could react to that, I guess I understand exactly what you're saying, Councilman Gardner. However, I would not call this a parking lot. This is a vehicle storage lot. And where we have trees and parking lots, we have parking areas of the width to park a car and conveniently get out of a car. And the tree not only accomplishes all the things that you've talked about, but also is, part of the space between the vehicles. And this is a lot to store the maximum number of vehicles that they can possibly store to use for sales in their sales property. And so I don't see it as a parking lot. I see it as a shielded all the way around vehicle storage lot that we all drive by rather consistency, and probably no one even recognizes that there are cars inside the property lines.
I understand. I understand that there's no aesthetics to it. But what I'm saying is we still have nothing but pavement, and that is just not something we should be doing today. I don't think that I will get probably any others to agree with me, but I just think these are the messages. We have to keep trying to make these improvements in what we are doing today, and to do the same old because it's not a parking lot but storage area is not moving the ball forward in some of these important areas.
I had a question. Excuse me, Councilmember Daigle?
Well, yes, question.
All right. I was just curious, more specifically, how many more trees would be on the premises? I mean, do you have a more specific view?
No, and I mean, I don't know that we have to be, I'm not saying that we have to cross every T and dot every I and say if there's an area that's too narrow for trees, as they suggest, well, then maybe that's an area we don't. But to just say that there shouldn't be any trees there, that we shouldn't try to break up some of this heat island and this pavement and have better drainage and everything else that comes along with that, I just think we should be more flexible in terms of what we're trying to do.
Has the reason been articulated why they don't want the trees? I mean, other than maybe it takes up some space?
This was the original development, did not provide the trees.
Well, it was a temporary.
If the trees were provided, it would reduce the number of spaces that could be stored on site. There are also trees provided just south of the adjacent property. We have some photos I can show you as well of those trees that are provided.
Don't they typically in like a parking lot, I've seen them because they, like, for instance, the new Vaughn's Center on 17th Street. No, 17th Street in Costa Mesa. They have trees in their parking lot. They have regular spaces, but they have like little diamond cutouts in the corners. It doesn't really affect the ability of a car to park or someone to even get out of the car. It's just kind of tucked in that area where the car kind of is over the...
I believe the way the spaces are oriented is very tight here, and that would be difficult to accommodate.
Well, are they not substandard spaces? I mean, as far as the striping?
Did you want to make a comment? I think you're representing...
The applicant is here. Thank you. Good evening. Vicki Fetterman with Government Solutions, and we represent Fletcher Jones Motor Cars. First of all, Councilmember Gardner, some of the issues, too, with the vehicle storage with trees available on the site would be tree sap, foliage, that type of thing, birds. that would not support the vehicle storage facility, which has been there since 2003. There are no changes. And to address the issue on the parking lot size, they are standard sizes. And if it would reduce the total amount. There are 519 stalls there currently. And if we had a tree every 5 spaces, that would reduce the storage facility.
I have a question. So you're not looking to, we're not going to go out there and cut down trees. We're
No.
basically saying that the condition as it exists today
Yes.
is what we're going to approve in.
Yes.
So, thank you.
Yes. No changes.
That's the problem.
Councilmember Rosansky, did you have any? Okay. Any other questions from?
Well,
Yes, on
I would
legal?
move the action as proposed by the staff. I think that, the economy really overwhelms everything now. Clearly, they want to maximize the use of the property to store cars and ultimately sell cars, which benefits the city. I think there's other opportunities to, carry out sort of this heat island concept. But I think here, let the business operate at its maximum utility. That would be my view of it.
Second. Moved and seconded. Mayor Pro Tem Gardner? No.
No,
Okay. Councilmember Rosansky?
Yeah, I guess I hear what Leslie's saying, and Fletcher Jones has always been I think, a great positive for this community from the standpoint of the sales tax generation that they throw off. It funds a lot of things in town. I will ask this, though, and I'm not going to modify my thing, but we're talking about, how many spaces is it? 500? 519. Why don't we go back to Fletcher Jones after tonight and ask him to donate 100 trees to the city, and we'll plant them somewhere else? Okay? That's more suitable, and they can have their parking lot, and we can have our 100 trees. How about that? So I'll make that suggestion, and I'd be happy for Mr. Jones or anybody else who wants to come down and present 100 trees to the city at our council meeting. We'll give them credit for it.
Okay.
Well, he can just bring one. But it has to be a 36-inch box. Okay? So that would be my suggestion as a kind of in lieu of...
Well, the spirit is a suggestion versus a
No, it's not
request
an
for
amendment to
action.
your motion, but
Okay,
in the
great.
spirit of we are a tree city, recognized tree city, and I think Councilmember Gardner had some excellent points. And if we can't at least plant the trees there, hopefully we can find another place. I mean, we're removing a significant number of eucalyptus trees around town, so maybe they can help with that effort as well.
So as Mr. Curry says, not blue gums.
But not blue gums. Yeah, we don't want any more eucalyptus trees, so forget that. No ficus trees either.
Olive trees seem to be in mode this evening, so.
Got to replace that olive tree, that's right.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Do we have public comment on this agenda item?
Stephanie Barger, resident of Corona Del Mar, and I appreciate Nancy Gardner, Councilwoman Gardner, pushing us to be greener. And greener is not just greener, but it's being more economically stable, and it's planning for our future. Another opportunity that would benefit Fletcher Jones in the city is to do what the city of Huntington Beach has done and cover all those cars and put photovoltaics on top of them. Most companies now, you don't even have to buy the photovoltaics. They have a lease program, and you can implement that. That will help with the heat and also benefit the city and also benefit Fletcher Jones and help Newport Beach really be a shining star in green and economic sustainability. So I hope that you would consider that, and we'd be more than happy to help you with that.
Thank you. Any other comment on this item? Seeing none, any further comments from council? Please vote.
Prior to reading the vote, I need to read the title of the ordinance. Ordinance number 2011-24 for introduction, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Newport Beach approving Plan Development Amendment number PD 2011-002 for property located at 1301 Quail Street, and resolution number 2011-96 for approval. A resolution of the City Council of the City of Newport Beach approving use permit number UP 2011-024 and modification permit MD 2011-012 for a vehicle storage facility located at 1301 Quail Street. And with that, With Mayor Pro Tem Gardner voting no, the motion carries.
Thank you. On to City Council redistricting.
So, Mr. Mayor and council members, you had a fairly detailed presentation about this at study session. I'm going to defer to you if you want to, if you had any follow-up questions or wanted a new presentation. We have our good team here to prepare it, to do it for you, but I'll punt that back to you if you'd like.
I just suggested to staff that they do a quick recap.
Okay.
We don't need the whole full-on presentation, but for the new folks that are in the audience.
So maybe a show of the current map, correct?
Well, yeah. That would be,
Current and proposed map. Yeah.
that would be good.
Well, just Patrick Alpert, Planning Manager, just as a brief introduction, we're preparing this. The charter requires that following national census, the council appoint a committee to study and report on advisability of revising the boundaries of the 7 city council districts. The committee has presented the report upon finding that the changes to the boundaries are advisable because they are unbalanced in their populations due to annexations that occurred over the last 10 years. We think that the recommendation of the committee meets with their 4 goals, which is to restore population balance, avoid breaking up the neighborhoods, recognize common interests, maintain the current geography of the existing districts as much as possible. And we also believe that this meets with the requirements of the city charter, as well as the government code, in that the districts are fair and logical. They provide contiguous and compact territories and provide fair representation to the city council. Dan, would you like to take it from there?
This is Mayor and members of the City Council. This is the...
Dan, can you give us your name, please?
Oh,
for the
yes,
record?
Dan Campanolo, Community Development Department. Thank you. So this is the current configuration that was back in the 2000 census. And this is the proposed council districts with 2010 census of 85,160 people divided by the 7 council districts, which gives us about 12,000 people per district. And that gets us about a deviation, as Patrick mentioned, about the 12,000, about 4%. Would you like me to go through?
I'd just like to review the process a bit, because I thought it was a really good process. Councilman Rosansky was the chair. And staff prepared, I think, 2 initially.
Correct.
We had to have something to start with.
Right. And
proposed 2, and we looked at it, and we had public meetings, and we had, what, about a dozen people there, you think? And they all had different ideas and emailed them back, and we ended up with, I think, 6 configurations, which we then had another meeting and discussed. So there was a good back and forth and a lot of input, and I thought it was a very satisfying experience.
Well, as the chair of that committee, I'll accept your kind comments, and I also thought it was a good process. Everybody got to speak, even more than once sometimes, and I think we have a good result here. I think it's something that'll work for our city for the next 10 years.
Although it does appear that District 7 conquered most of District 6 along the way.
Yeah, there's a lot of hillside there, though, a lot of hillside.
I did have a question.
Councilmember Davis.
Recognizing that the rebalancing has to take place, I think in my district for the last years, it's been like 30% more population than some of the other areas, and even now I think it's still the most population. So I realize that. But there's this area up here. Is there, what is the population numbers in there?
Right here is 50, doing
Yeah.
laser point is 504.
Yeah.
504 people in this area.
504.
Right.
Okay.
And that is a separate plan, or homeowners association, community association, and this is kind of the boundary of Santa Ana Heights Airport area, West Santa Ana Heights, to keep that intact.
Okay, because it's kind of actually divided by Jamboree. I wouldn't lump them with that area there. But it sounds like it has some 504 people in there.
Right. And it would be 504 into back into District 4.
Right.
We'd add it back into District 4.
Okay. And then let's say you were to, this is Bristol here.
Correct.
If you were to cut it off at Bristol, what's the population up in here?
0.
Okay.
Yeah, the airport. There may be, the census may report maybe 2 or
Right.
3, but it does share a census tract with Irvine, I believe.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it seems like this area, I don't know, this is more commercial. Fletcher Jones is in here. Lexus is right here. And then you just have a lot of commercial, no
Yeah.
residential.
And residential here. That's what gives you the population.
Okay.
Do we need a motion to accept this? I would second that.
All right. Does anyone wish to comment on Councilmember Daigle's question about that area, or?
Yeah, well, unfortunately, it still increases even more in already large
Yeah.
districts, so I
Right.
understand that. I would just say that those commercial areas have been very desirable to represent.
Okay,
And,
so you're not suggesting a change?
No.
Okay.
But I do grieve the loss of that area.
As I do the 4th Street.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I don't want to speak of paranoia, but at least on my iPad, the model only had numbers on it.
Oh, yeah.
I did update the map. You might have uploaded the documents prior to the change, so I apologize.
Okay. Do we have any comments from the public on this item? Seeing none, bring it back to council. Kim, did you have something to say?
Mr. Mayor, if I could just clarify that the staff is recommending that the city council obviously conduct the public hearing, but also initiate or direct staff to initiate an ordinance to adopt the city council's redistricting committee's recommendation and set for public hearing on October 25th.
Is that what you mean, Keith? That's what I second too.
All right. I think that's what he moved the item. All right. So let's vote.
Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, next item, the annual review of the zoning implementation and public benefit agreement for sober living. We typically have a staff presentation on these and allow the applicant, which would be Sober Living by the Sea, to make any statement they wish to make, followed by public comment, and then, to the extent they wish to, another opportunity for the applicant to make any final closing remarks. So that's the way we'll proceed. We'll take the staff presentation now.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Associate Planner Janet Brown will provide the overview, but again, this is the second review of the zoning agreement with Sober Living by the Sea.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. As Ms. Brandt stated, this is the second annual review of the zoning agreement between the city and Sober Living by the Sea. During the first review, which was conducted last November, City Council found Sober Living had demonstrated good faith compliance with all the terms of the agreement, with the exception of the requirement to provide an off-site parking lot for the Villa Way facility. The Villa Way facility is located here, and the proposed off-site parking lot, which is under separate ownership, is located directly across the street. At the November review, City Council approved milestones and a schedule of 2 to 6 months for Sober Living to bring itself into compliance with the parking lot requirement. Following the council meeting, Sober Living continued its efforts to work with the property owner to resolve issues related to the environmental cleanup of the site. However, the property owner was unwilling to respond to Sober Living's request to meet, and therefore Sober Living was unable to obtain authorization to complete construction of the site. During the past 6 to 8 months, staff has worked with Sober Living to help identify alternative sites where a parking lot could be located. And on September 16th, Sober Living informed staff that it had reached an agreement to lease 13 spaces on an alternative lot on a month-to-month basis for an indefinite period of time. This alternative lot is located at 532nd Street, a convenient distance away from the Villa Way facility. Other off-site parking arrangements or opportunities for use by sober living on a more permanent long-term basis may be identified as the conceptual plans for Lido Village area and the City Hall site are formulated. But in the meantime, this off-site parking arrangement is equivalent to and meets the intent of the terms of the zoning agreement, which is to provide off-street parking spaces for the vehicles associated with the Villa Way facility and the transportation vans used by sober living, rather than those vehicles parking on city streets or in public parking lots. Under the terms of the agreement, sober living is required to submit compliance review reports to the city twice a year to report the current facility locations and the number of client beds in each of the facilities. Based on the information provided, sober living is reporting a total of 90 client beds citywide at this time, where the zoning agreement limits the total number of client beds to a maximum of 204 beds citywide. So therefore, sober living is in compliance with this regulation. The accuracy of the information provided in these compliance review reports is verified by our Code Enforcement Division through on-site inspections. During these inspections, Code Enforcement verifies the location of the facilities, the number of client beds and bedrooms, compliance with off-street parking requirements, proper storage of trash receptacles and disposal of medical waste, and the overall cleanliness of the facilities. Code Enforcement conducted on-site interior inspections of 7 different facilities in January and August of this year, and they also conducted exterior inspections of all facilities in September. All facilities were found to be in compliance during these inspections, with the exception of the off-street parking requirements at 4800 Seashore Drive, where it was found that 2 garage spaces were partially obstructed with supplies, and the improper placement and maintenance of trash receptacles at the 505 29th Street facility. Staff notified sober living of these matters, and sober living took the corrective actions immediately. Code Enforcement also reviews and addresses complaints that were submitted to the city throughout the past year. One such complaint received was regarding a transportation van unloading clients in a red curb zone in front of the 5101 River Avenue facility. To correct this matter, van drivers were directed to pick up the clients from the 5004 Neptune Avenue facility, which they have done so, and we've not received any further complaints at this time. We've also received 3 complaints regarding transportation vans driven in an unsafe manner and the drivers failing to adhere to approved route plans. Sober Living issued a written notice on October 8th to all van drivers and met with the drivers on August 10th and again September 15th to discuss the transportation of clients and the need to comply with the zoning agreement and obey all laws related to parking and driving in the city. Per the notification to the drivers, van drivers who fail to adhere to the route plans and obey all traffic laws are subject to disciplinary action. At this time, we've not received any further complaints regarding transportation vans. Most recently, at the September 27th City Council meeting, a mayor of the Villa Way facility complained of loud voices and noise coming from the clients on the patio playing ping pong. Staff advised Sober Living of this complaint, and although this is not a violation of the zoning agreement, Sober Living removed the ping pong table. In conclusion, staff's review of Sober Living's operations and the inspections of the facilities indicate Sober Living has made a good faith effort to comply with all terms of the agreement. Based on the information and attachments provided in our staff report, staff recommends that City Council find Sober Living has demonstrated good faith compliance and that City Council receive and file the documents submitted. If Council concurs with staff's recommendation, the next annual review will be presented at the second meeting in July 2012. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Janet. Any council questions? Councilmember Curry.
How do we get from October, and last year was November, to July for next year?
Last year,
as part of the administrative protocol that was established by the city attorney's office and staff working with Sober Living, we had agreed that we would hold all future reviews in July. What happened this year in June and July is that we were reviewing a development agreement with a different operator in the city, and we just we had to push this hearing back to this meeting date.
Okay. Councilmember Selich?
On the off-site parking lot, I presume those spaces are going to be for the exclusive use of this operation. And if so, what documentation do you have that that's the case, that they're not being double rented to someone else or being used to satisfy, other parking conditions? And then are the spaces going to be signed saying exclusively for the use of Sober Living by the Sea?
I don't have an answer to your last question, but we can find that information out. There is a pool of parking spaces there, and I'm not 100% sure of the count. It's between 35 and 40 spaces that are for the benefit of property located at 3388 via Lido. It's one of the bayfront buildings that's being redeveloped. They have an excess of off-site parking spaces for that development, more than 13, which are being rented to Sober Living by the Sea.
And so have you been presented evidence that they have exclusive use of those spaces and they're not going to be able to be rented to someone else?
No, I have not been presented with that evidence.
Probably might be a good thing to get.
Councilmember Gardner. Mayor Pro Tem Gardner.
Either way. This is what I think we had hoped for, that we would have an agreement, and when there were some issues, obviously there's always going to be some issues, that we would be able to say, here's an issue, and it would be dealt with. And the fact that this room isn't jam-packed with people suggests that this has been a good relationship. So I think looking at how quickly they've responded to the complaints that have been made is very encouraging.
Okay. All right. Did the applicant wish to make any comments?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. My name is Richard Terzian. I'm the counsel for Sober Living by the Sea. My address is 444 South Flower, Los Angeles. I really don't have any comments except to, of course, endorse the report of the staff and comment that it's a pleasure being back here after 2 years under considerably less contentious circumstances than the last time I was here. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Well, the atmosphere that you're back here in has a lot to do with how your client has conducted itself over the past 2 years, and we appreciate that. It certainly is proof positive that it is possible to be a rehab operator in the city of Newport Beach and coexist well with the neighborhoods and neighbors. So thank you, and thank your client. Any other comments?
I just wondered, would you be able to answer Councilman Selich's questions about the parking?
Not right now, but I will find out to make sure that we have the exclusive right.
Is that satisfactory?
Yeah.
I want to follow up on Mr. Curry's comment. With Aaron whispered to me, do we absolutely have to come back in June, or could we come back a year from now? Because they report in June, and that gives us a little bit of time to digest that. Is that acceptable? Okay.
Well, it was
to
July,
come back.
I think, was the
July.
commitment.
It was July, but we could.
So we could potentially come back a year from now, full 12 months. Okay.
Okay. Do we have any other public comment on this item?
Move
Seeing
it.
none, back to council. Mayor Pro Tem Gardner.
I move the item.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. No further comment. Please vote.
The motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. All right. On to current business, the additional direction regarding a ban on plastic bags.
All right. One reason this came up again is because these are students that often generate these, and it's a different class. So a second class came up with this and came to EQUAC and said, would you consider this? And I feel it's at least important when students take the time to get involved that we give them some kind of at least opportunity for public input. I would recommend that we have EQAC look at it, because my experience with EQAC in both the smoking ban and in the styrofoam issue was that, one, it's a very representative group. It's not simply from one perspective. It's a pretty good cross-section of our city, and their approach has been very reasoned and very, I think, middle of the road and moderate. So I don't know that sending it to EQAC is guaranteeing any kind of outcome at all. Students may learn that you don't always get what you ask for, as the Stones sang. But that's also a good lesson in civic responsibility, that you may have to come back again or change your request in some way. So I'm hoping that we will move this on to EQAC, and I don't know that we would have to have a special meeting. There might be a mitigated negative declaration or some other issue where we could combine it for EQAC on their agenda. It doesn't have to be dealt with in the next month or 60 days or something, but that's what I would hope.
Okay. Other comment? Actually, I would chime in favor of Mayor Pro Tem Gardner's comments, especially if it could be arranged as a second agenda item in an otherwise scheduled meeting, so that we're not at the outset here, using up additional staff time and resource to at least have an initial look at the item. Councilmember Selich?
Yeah, I'll be opposing it. I think that our staff resources are stretched right now. I've got a number of things that in my district I'd like to have taken a look at, and I'm holding back on them just because I see our staff is stretched to the limits on the things that we're doing, and I just don't see the necessity to take this on, so I'll be opposing it.
I would just say, excuse me, just in that respect, that when we did the styrofoam and the non-smoking, EQAC really did, and the students did the legwork. There really wasn't a lot of work from staff at all.
Well, I'll just counter that. It does take staff time. Anytime we have anything on the agenda, there's staff time and work that goes into it. And like I said, I have other priorities that I'd like to see taken care of before this.
Councilmember Curry.
Well, I would just say I appreciate the work of the students and the research that they do, and I, in fact, did support the styrofoam ban when that came before us, because I think that was a manageable thing to do. When it comes to plastic bags, I mean, we have a real issue, because that's what people use in our city to deal with dog waste, and they deal with it all over the city, and if they had to find an alternative to do that, I'm just not sure that a viable alternative exists, particularly given the little plastic bag dispensers that we have to help people deal with that. And I think at the end of the day, non-picked up dog waste is going to be a bigger issue than plastic bags. So I would not be supporting this, and I think what the real reason for this little colloquy and discussion is to decide whether there's the support on the council here if this issue were to come back. So I think that's what we want to sort of ferret out here today.
Well, I guess that's why I think EQAC looks at it, because EQAC, we started off with one person's proposing, I think the students wanted a complete ban on smoking in the city. And EQAC went, no, we're not going to do that, and we're not going to do it on people's decks and everything. And that by presenting it to EQAC to come back with something and say, no, we're going to do it for markets. We're going to have single-use bags in markets or something, which is what many cities done. I don't know any city that's actually banned all plastic bags, but they have done the plastic carry-out bags. And just as we did styrofoam, we haven't banned all styrofoam. We did it with restaurants. We might come back with something like that, a moderate approach to it.
Well,
Councilmember Daigle.
one of my concerns is kind of going into it, we don't really know what the economic impacts of it are, and I thought that was a good point, the inconvenience to pet owners, and what other impacts are. And I think the other point that was well taken is, we have our council priorities this year, restructuring, the pension reform, the revitalization, and for us to be successful, we need to rally our resources and focus our resources on our priorities. So from a planning kind of from that aspect of it, I just see we really need to be focused with our priorities. If I knew a little bit more about the economic impacts, I might be inclined to support it. So maybe if those that propose it could educate and inform us more on that, I think that would be helpful.
All right, well, we've heard from the left. How about the right?
I will not be supporting it.
I just counted to 4. So I think you have your guidance, and unless Councilmember Rosansky feels compelled to make a comment.
But clean up afterwards.
Public comment too, right?
All right, do we have any public comment on this item?
Good evening. Stephanie Barger, Earth Resource Foundation, and also founding member of the Clean Seas Coalition, which is a statewide organization that has been leading policy and laws locally and statewide and nationally on plastic pollution reduction. And there's over 30 environmental organizations within this coalition. And so I have 2 points to make. One is real positive, where we have all the research, we have all the economic studies, we work with the grocery stores, we have all the environmental impact reports from the County of LA. They also did a social economic study. It's not going to hurt poor people, it's not going to hurt business, it's not going to hurt jobs. So we have all the resources, so there's going to be very little staff time for you to invest in this. And in fact, we actually have an attorney who is volunteering her time, and she's developed a memoranda, Jenny Romer, with plasticbaglaws.org, and I'll leave her memo with you that gives you the short and sweet about, you know, how to avoid lawsuits, how to avoid developing an environmental impact report, and she's more than happy to work with staff or work with EQUAC to do that. This is for plastic shopping bags, and it's really a zero waste law. We're not for paper or plastic. We have to ban plastic bags because of AB 2449. By law, cities are not allowed to put fees on plastic bags. However, we do ask the grocery stores, and they've readily done this, to put fees on paper bags. We also require that the paper bags have no old growth trees in them, have at least 40% recycled content, and are, you know, marked to be recycled and or composted. Our students are not going to go away. Mr. Moreland has them for a whole year. So if they're not going to EQUAC, they're going to be here in City Council. Our organizations that are involved are Coastkeeper, Surfrider, Environment Now, Californians Against Waste. Like I said, there's 30 organizations. Surfrider Huntington Beach had 150 people at the hearing for plastic bags, and they came 3 or 4 times. This is incredibly important for our environment. It's an easy fix. It's an easy training program for, and a reinforcement for citizens to adopt zero waste and to use the reduce, reuse, and recycle. Regarding the dog poop, we have tons of other plastic bags. You have your bread bags, your cereal bags, your newspaper bags. We're not banning all plastic bags. And if we're really concerned with that, we should be implementing a program, because you can train your dog to poop before it even leaves the house. You know, so there's many other ways to really compact, and yeah, and there's backyard dog composters, so people don't even have to use bags.
Can I suggest that you can train your dog to poop before it
well,
leaves
they
the
do.
house?
I mean,
but
Guide
don't
Dogs
think
of
I'll do
America has to do it all the time with that. And, you know, it's semi-jokingly, but it does happen. And in fact, the president of SPCA came out and supports the plastic bag ban. So, you know, people use that as a cop-out. It's, you know, there's easy fixes for that. There's tons of other plastic bags. I encourage you to collect all your plastic bags at home and see how many you have. So, you know, I would hope that you would support these students. They're trying to learn their civic responsibility. The EQUAC members, most of them I talked to individually, and they were very supportive of the students coming. So otherwise, I just, you know, it's not a threat, it's a reality. We are going to be going city by city and bringing all of our supporters in to City Council and pushing this. We're not going anywhere. Plastic bags is on our list, and we would love to work with you and get this implemented quickly and expeditiously. Yes. So we really do. We want to work with you. Our students want to work with you. It's a huge opportunity. We have AB 341, which is going to require us to divert 75%, And this is a very easy way to help us start reaching those goals and educating our public in zero waste policies. So I hope you support us. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Do we have any other comment on this item? Did our last commenter sway anyone's opinion in the majority here? I think not. So.
No, but I look forward to sitting down with Stephanie and looking through her information.
Okay, Dave, I take it you have sufficient guidance? All right. Do we have motions for reconsideration?
A motion to reconsider the vote on any action taken by the city council at either this meeting or the previous meeting may be made only by one of the council members who voted with the prevailing side.
Okay, do I hear any motions for reconsideration? Hearing none, we're adjourned.